We could survive that. We could survive that. We could survive it.
Hello and welcome to We Could Survive That, your survival guide to the movies. I'm Jack, and today I'm joined by a man who was almost a Jill sandwich. It's Chris.
Why a Jill? I mean, you're referring to Jill Valentine, obviously, the character, because we're covering Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse, but why a Jill sandwich?
Because it's the only quote I could think of from a Resident Evil game.
Is that a quote from a Resident Evil game?
Well, I think it was a Jibble sandwich, but we're not here to talk about the game, are we? Misremember quotes?
Yeah, you've completely lost me on that, but okay, no, we're not talking about the video games. We're talking about the hit movie franchise, the Resident Evil, led by starring actor Mila Jovovich. The first one was directed by a guy I think she was involved with, but this one wasn't. She got through on this one on her pure acting skill and abilities.
It was written by Paul W.S. Anderson, who is married to Mila Jovovich.
I think he was a producer on the film as well. The first Resident Evil film, I like it. It's good. I've watched it multiple times.
We did a podcast on it. It's still up if you wanted to listen to that. I didn't really like it, but I've softened on it, comparing it to this film.
Yes, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Possibly the lowest rated one in the franchise. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely knew it wasn't a good one, and I knew for a fact you would hate it.
Yes, Chris, you have accurately judged my opinion on this film. I did not like it. Look, it's directed by Alexander Witt, who this is his only lead directing credit of any note. He did a couple of I think Land Rover trailers for the upcoming No Time to Die film, but this is his one big directing credit. He does shockingly have an extensive list of second unit and assistant directing credits, which is a broad range of films. So a couple of James Bond films, done some Marvel films. He's also done some wobblier films as well, but overall he's done some good work. So I don't really know how this happened, Chris, because, well, I do know how this happened, Chris, because
it's directed by a person who feels comfortable not taking the lead role and will direct the smaller scenes or whatever. Lead director handles the big stuff, but when given the whole film to direct themselves, they lose themselves in it. Are you telling me you didn't like the close-up, choppy fight scenes and stuff where you couldn't really see what was happening properly?
First off, I'm gonna build it up just so I can knock it down. There is a crumb of a good idea in this film, Chris, which is there's a zombie apocalypse. Nobody can get out of the infected area, and there's a ticking clock because someone's going to blow up the area where the zombies are to get rid of the zombies, and the only way out is to save someone's daughter, and then they'll get you out. That's fine. I like a simple plot, Chris. The simpler, the better, because then you can focus on some of the visuals and things like that. So, plot, fine. The problem is all of the Resident Evil stuff that they had to smush on top of it, and they had to include it in someone else's fan fiction of Resident Evil. So, just nonsense. It's also ruined in the edit as well. Like you said, there are choppy moments. There's some weird, juddery frame choices when some of the zombies are on. They just chop out a bunch of frames for no reason. They do it in one of the fight scenes as well. It's nonsensical, some of the action setup. I know it's like the noughties and action is, we're still in that Matrix, post-Matrix era where everyone's got to be doing wall runs and, you know, the Matrix stuff. The characters are annoying. It's also oddly mean-spirited in some places, but not in other places. It's hampered by characters from the video games just flat out going, "You're so much better than me. You're just the greatest human being that's ever existed." Characters popping up for no reason in places that they shouldn't be for plot convenience with no explanation given. It is the definition of lazy writing, and I think it would be rejected from some fan fiction writing forums for being a little too far-fetched, Chris. If people complain that Rey is a Mary Sue, then Alice in this is just a mega Mary Sue. I have no... She's got superpowers. I mean, she's about the same power level as she was in the first film. I've been talking for so long, Chris. I'm so sorry, but this is just... It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. They explain why she's got mega powers in this, but they don't explain why she had mega jumpy, flippy powers and was the only one capable of killing zombies in the first one. I don't understand, Chris. Please say something. Anything.
Okay, I preferred this viewing to my original viewing. I think so. I knew how bad it was, so I went in with not expectations because I knew how bad it was, and I ended up enjoying it a little bit more as a result. And that's all I've got to say for the film. Goodbye, everybody. The plot, like you say, it's a simple, easy plot to follow. It's also a very generic plot. It's been done multiple zombie films. Oh, infected city. Oh, we're trapped inside. And there's either a task or a mission you have to complete to get out. Is, you know, very generic. It's been done all the time. I think the film does suffer from the fact it is Resident Evil and they have to stick in loads of things from the Resident Evil games, introducing characters like Jill Valentine, who just turns up, by the way. She's part of the STARS team. This is the Special Tactics and Rescue Squad or something like that. It's a rip-off of SWAT. They introduce her. The zombies are outbreaking. There's police who are trying to arrest zombies. And then she turns up at the police station, pulls out her handgun and starts just shooting what are meant to just be prisoners. Nobody stops her. One person goes, Jill, what are you doing? But nobody else really stops her, and they sort of let her get away with it. That should not have happened. I mean, especially for those who are actual prisoners, she would have been taken down by another police officer immediately.
The thing is that Paul W.S. Anderson, he steered clear of the original Resident Evil characters in the first one because he knew that people didn't want to watch just a retelling of the game. So he did like a prequel film. With this, though, it's basically Resident Evil 2 or 3 or whatever one it is, but just inserted his own original character in that's got superpowers. I don't understand why he would come at it like that when he had more or less the right idea with the first one. I don't know why.
Well, if you like that, you're going to like the third one, because it introduced more characters from the game, and Alice's powers get even more bigger. She creates a fire tornado to kill a load of birds at one point, but I'll leave that for you to look forward to. Back to Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse, though. They introduce Nemesis, who is Mark from the first film. He's mutating, and he changes his big creature, and they inject him with the T-virus and whatnot. And I believe Nemesis is from the video games Resident Evil 2 or 3. I'm not sure which one.
I think it's 3.
Okay. I like Nemesis in this because it's an actual suit. It's not CG and everything. So that's a nice touch to it. But the action, it's like you said, it's an early noughties film. It's riding off the Matrix. All early noughties and late 90s action movies have sort of this weird colour thing going on where it's sort of black, greys, silvers. And it's always a lot of reflection. There's always puddles everywhere. Even when it hasn't been raining, there's puddles everywhere. And there's always water reflecting off. So I think that hampers it a bit, especially with his fight scenes. I mean, he doesn't do much fighting. He turns up and shoots some people.
Yeah.
And has a bit of a choppy fist fight with Alice, which, again, you don't get to see because they cut most of the fight out and just show you weird snippets. There's a scene when they're in a cemetery. There's Alice, there's Jill Valentine, there's a journalist, I forget her name, and there's another star police officer. And zombies come out around and they're coming out the graves. And then that fight scene was making my head hurt. The camera's diving all over the place. And it was so choppy and it was horrible. And I wanted to fast forward it, but I didn't. I stuck with it.
Well, that's kind of a throwback to like more classic Romero horrors and stuff with zombies coming out of the ground. But it's just
but it's done poorly.
Horrible. It's horrible to look at. The Nemesis... Good that it is practical, because a CG Nemesis at this time would have looked horrible. I just wish it was a bit taller.
Really? I don't know. I'm not sure how tall...
You cut out. We're having some technical problems with the line.
Okay. Am I back up and running now?
You're back now, yeah. Did you like the weird squatter Nemesis then? You don't want it any taller?
I think you'll find how it is. I'm not sure how tall Nemesis is meant to be. I know there's a character... Oh, God, what's he called? Is he called Mr. T or something like that? Is it not the character from the A-Team? There's a character from Resident Evil. He's a tall guy. Basically, he's massive, so I understand if he's big.
Mr. X.
Mr. X, that's the bloody Mr. T.
He's from Resident Evil 2. And like gameplay-wise, they perform the same mechanic, basically. Just an unstoppable force that follows you around the level and just beats you up and is a bullet sponge. But yeah, no, I think Nemesis should have been a bit taller, because you know the Sontarans from Doctor Who, Potato Men?
Oh, they're tiny.
Yeah,
right?
I sort of get vibes like that because they're quite short and stocky. He looks kind of stocky. I think he just should have been taller. I reckon.
I think he's taller than, if you stood him next to any of the other characters, I think he's going to tower above them regardless.
Yeah, but he should be even bigger, even more of a presence. The fights with him, though, and Alice, they are bad. Especially the one where Alice runs at him and he's got a rocket launcher and a minigun, and he just lets Alice run at him. And, yeah, just doesn't obliterate her or cut her in half with that minigun. It's... Yeah. Yeah,
but at the same time, he's not in any real danger from her either, is he? I mean, the highest danger threat she gets given by, I don't know, what his program or whatever is controlling him is moderate. So when she's running at him shooting, he's like, yeah, it's a moderate threat. I got no deal with this. I'm just going to let it happen.
She's still a threat, even though, according to Umbrella's database, she's only slightly more threatening than a police officer.
Yes, apart from the fact that she has these godlike abilities.
Yeah, I don't understand. I've got a list of...
Wait till later, then you're really not going to understand.
I'm not. They're going to call it Resident Evil Nemesis to sort of go along with the game. But do you want to know why they didn't call it Nemesis? It's all Star Trek's fault.
What is there, a Star Trek Nemesis like movie or something?
There is, yeah, and it wasn't very good, so they changed it to Apocalypse.
Okay, I thought they just meant it was like copyrighted, like Transformers had to call it Dark of the Moon because they couldn't use Dark Side of the Moon because of that Pink Floyd album.
Okay, fair enough. Where are you on zombies being able to be taken out with a neck snap?
I've seen this in multiple films of they grab the head, don't they, and they twist it and they snap the neck. Okay, that'll make the zombie collapse, but it won't kill it. A zombie's still going to be alive. It's, behead a zombie. That head is still moving. It's alive. It can still bite. So head snapping zombies is going to render, neck downwards useless, but they're still going to be alive. It's not actually going to kill them. They can still, bite you if you get close.
Well, the thing is that they explain it in this, that the T-virus reanimates dead corpses. So all the zombies from the graveyard, they've decayed. Some of them probably died from trauma, maybe even neck snaps. Maybe when Jill Valentine was on the force, she was snapping necks and stuff, and all the criminals were buried there. So yeah, I'm not on board with the neck snap being able to take out a zombie, because it is the classic destroy the head or remove the brain or whatever. So the fact that they're just turning the head slightly just means that the zombie's got more mobility to get you, like a zombified owl.
A zombified owl. Oh, so you reckon they just snap the neck and it should be able to just sort of spring back again?
Yeah. Or like...
But then if they snap the neck and they break the spine, then it can't use the rest of its body, surely.
It's dead, so it shouldn't be able to use the rest of its body anyway. I still think a neck snap's pretty bad. How many lickers were in the church? I lost count because the editing was so weird. Was it 2 or 3?
There were 3, apparently. I didn't even know that until the one of the Star members is like, yeah, I've counted 3 of them. And I was like, did you? I thought it was just one that was jumping around all over the place because, like you said, the choppy shots all like just bouncing everywhere. It's annoying.
Yeah. Why did Alice go to the church? There was no gunshots or anything like that. It's also good that the reporter lady decided that she was going to leave once the liquor was there. Otherwise, all the zombies would have just come in through the door and nobody would have been able to barricade it in time. Also, why was Alice just sitting outside the school smoking and then just so happened to know that Jill's plan was to light the kitchen on fire and blow up a bunch of zombies, and then she just threw a cigarette in there and blew it up anyway? Was she just chilling?
Because it looked cool, all right? It's 2004 this film came out, and it looks cool when you flick a cigarette at gas and you make a big-ass explosion. And the church, you could say maybe she was going along and she heard the gunshots. There were gunshots because Jill and the other STARS officer, they were shooting the lickers.
Yeah, but there were gunshots, and then there was a big gap where there was no gunshots, and then she just crashes in through a window.
Well, maybe she was planning to go into the church anyway. She was like, while I'm here, I don't get to do this normally. I'm going to crash this motorbike through the church window. And then when she did, she was like, oh, God, there's people in here. But let's face it, she has powers. She's got the T virus in her. It's given her these powers. Maybe she's like, I can sense liquors this way. I'm going to go deal with them. And then just found these people there by chance.
You say the explosion stuff, it looks cool. Why not just have Jill's plan succeed? Why can't her matches just explode the kitchen? Why has it got to be Alice? Why has it got to be Alice?
Because she's married to the guy that wrote it. So he's like, I've got to big my wife up in this and make her look impressive. And this is what they do in the later films as well. And they make her greater and greater and greater. And then they realise they've made her too great. So then they strip her of her powers. But that's not way until the end.
Great.
At this point, they're still bigging her up at this moment.
How many Resident Evil films are there?
Ooh, I don't know. 5, maybe?
They didn't make it to the coveted 6 then. Unless they did.
It was Resident Evil, there's Apocalypse, and there's like Afterlife, Retribution, and there's something else, I think.
We got to do them, though.
Well, I mean, I'm going to rewatch them again now anyway, so I may as well. There's one on Netflix at the moment. I think that's the very last one. It's one I may not have seen yet.
I think the very last one's called Final Chapter. I mean, a lot of horror films have, like, Final Chapter in the end, and they like come back for 20 more. So, who knows?
Yeah, the final chapter is never the final chapter in any horror franchise.
That is true, yeah. LJ, he's the guy in the police station. He comes out and somehow he's still got 2 of his custom guns with him. Did he go back to
I'm assuming in the confusion, because when we see LJ, he's in the police station, he's been arrested. He's next to a zombie who's also been arrested, which is always funny. And then Jill Valentine turns up, kills the zombie, shoots his handcuffs to let LJ go free. She doesn't know LJ's crime. He could have been some mass murderer, serial killer, lunatic who, as soon as he got free, would start murdering innocent people. But he lets him go regardless. And during the confusion, he somehow manages to find his custom gold handguns.
Survival tips, Chris, for whatever's going on here. Who dies? Who do you care about enough that dies that you want to make them survive?
Absolutely nobody. I'm not invested in any of these characters at all. I don't think anybody's invested in these characters, but I think when you got the people being evacuated and there's Umbrella have built like a wall around Raccoon City, haven't they? And they're letting people out after they scan them for the virus. So all you got to do is shove your way to the front of the crowd and let them scan you so you get out before they close the doors.
How did the government let Umbrella do this? Why did they go, okay, you've got this? It's like giving Amazon the... or just because a company's got lots of money.
There's like a conspiracy thing in this where Umbrella's so big and powerful that it's bigger and more powerful than the government. So, the government's going to do something, they ask Umbrella for permission, that type of thing. Later on, when the world falls and governments collapse, Umbrella is still going. That's how powerful they are. So I think the government were like, we can deal with this, and Umbrella probably told the government to back off and we're going to sort it. And the government sort of went, yes, okay, we're sorry.
It's called Apocalypse, but the world doesn't end in this film.
Just a city.
Okay. Not zombie-related either.
Well, no, it's nuke-related, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mini nuke that destroys the city. The world ends in the next film, though.
How?
It doesn't explain. It just starts, and Alice is riding a motorbike through desert wasteland.
Oh,
because that's cool as well.
Yeah. So cool. I don't think Alice's costume in this film was as memorable as her costume in the first one.
Oh no, this costume is memorable because the first one is like, red dress, awesome, stands out. This one is fishnet vest, fucking terrible, stands out though.
In a bad way. I think Jill's
yes.
costume also stands out a little bit as well. Are you okay?
Yes, sorry.
You're making a lot of noise
there because as you said, Jill's, I was picturing it and I was stifling a laugh because it's a costume I'm assuming from her video game.
It is,
which is totally impractical.
Well, look, it's game accurate to the Resident Evil 3. They recently remade Resident Evil 3. They managed to keep it like more or less the same, but they modernized it and made it more practical. They gave her straps for her top, and toned down the color. I don't understand physics, Chris. How does a strapless top stay on? I don't...
Did you see how tight the top was around her body? It's a wonder she could breathe. That thing looks so incredibly tight. So that's how I managed to stay up, because it looked like it was crushing her ribs.
Okay, so a corset is what it was. A blue
Basically,
corset.
yeah. Also, if she's at home and there's this big outbreak and, we need backup. Well, there was a strange outbreak. There's these creatures. And she's like, I'm going to wear my strapless top today.
Well, the establishing to her was she came back, she took off some high heels, and then she flicked on the news and it's like zombies everywhere. And because she's been in the events of the first game, but not the events of the first film, she was like, right, I know what's going on, and puts on some boots and is off to kick some zombie ass.
Okay, so you're saying that's why she's wearing an outfit, because she's just come in from some swanky party and is like, right, I got to kill zombies. I got time to change into these boots, which are practical because they can't bite through them. But she didn't have time to take off a top and a skirt and put on something else.
No, I don't think Jill's a swanky party kind of gal. I think she was probably just at the bar necking shots of Jack Daniels or something. She's mean in this, so maybe she's a mean drunk or something, I don't know. But there's not really any need for Jill to be in this, because she is almost on purpose. She's upstaged by Alice at every turn. And I thought
this as well in the film.
I think Jill would have been a better protagonist anyway, because she is kind of out of her depth and she's more complex and she's scrappy, and by the skin of her teeth she's making it out of these situations. While as Alice, she just runs into a giant monster with a rocket launcher and a minigun and there's no problem. She does get injured and stuff, which I think it does something to bring down her power level, but it's not enough. I can't relate to her as much as I can relate to Jill, who's sick of this shit.
You see this shit?
Yeah.
I had to come home early from drinking aggressively at the bar to deal with this shit.
Yeah, she's more relatable, more flawed, whereas Alice is just, again, she's like an author insert a fan fiction character turned up to 11. It's not an engaging character when someone can shrug off all of this shit and they're the chosen one, and they end the film with a terrible punch up, which is meant to be fists only, and then Nemesis pulls off a bar, and then the evil umbrella guy gives Alice 2 sticks for some reason. I don't know.
Keep it equal, Ernie, level playing field.
Then send Alice out into the war-torn, zombie-infected city with a Gatling gun and a rocket launcher. Why? Doesn't even get any clothes. Nemesis gets clothes and weapons. Why? Why did they have to do the fight in the street? Why couldn't they do it in a lab, in laboratory-controlled environment, Chris?
Because they didn't have time. They wanted to do it then, and in the street, and at night time with water on the ground, so it's wet.
Why? There are a bunch of characters in it that we haven't really talked about. The reporter, I think, was good, but I think her death was kind of mean because she's eaten by zombie children.
Yeah, that's probably the harshest death. Being eaten by a lot of zombie children seems worse than a lot of zombie adults, doesn't it? I don't know why. It just seems more grueling.
Yeah, it's just nastier, I think. Carlos is in it as well. He's the guy from some of the Mummy films. I think he was quite good in it.
Yes, yeah, he is. He survives it.
Yeah. I'm happy he does. I'm sure he comes back and he's probably got superpowers. Maybe, I don't know.
He doesn't have superpowers, but he does come back.
Oh, that's upsetting. Maybe I don't like. There's some awkward flirting between him and Alice, where she's like, "Oh, I've got the T virus, but don't worry." Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I'm not infectious. And he's
Imagine if you...
Oh, yeah.
She says that, though, and he's like, oh, it's not contagious. And he's like, oh, my God, I don't care if it is. Anyway, get away from me.
They're both looking at each other like, yeah, we're going to fuck.
Yeah, she's just assuming that he's interested, though. I mean, he is interested because he gives her the look back, but still.
I think in the remake, I think he's more interested in Jill, but since Alice is here, and Jill's just constantly like, Alice, you're great, you're the best thing ever. Carlos is also like, yeah, maybe she is. I don't want to be with Jill. I want to be with this Alice. She's not infectious, so that's good for me.
That's great, yeah. I wonder what other superpowers are he's got.
My goodness. Randy Carlos. LJ also gets quite a funny line at the end where he's in the choppy and the bad guy comes up and he's like, no, I'm used to driving Cadillacs, and then he just punches him. And then they leave him to be eaten by zombies. It's great fun, Chris. And then there's a bomb. And then the world ends, apparently. Who knows?
Yeah, Raccoon City's destroyed, and then by the time the third film starts, yeah, everything's gone. And it's not like it's just gone. Everything's really gone. Vegas is buried under a lot of sand.
Right.
So only the tips of the buildings are pointing out. That's how many years have passed that Vegas has been swallowed by the desert, but none of the characters have aged that much. And it introduces more people from the games.
Oh,
so you've got that to look forward to.
Great. I cannot wait. Yeah, this was 2004, so there's 2 years between this and the first one. When was the next one released? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, no. I know there's one in 2008. I don't know if that's the next one, though. Maybe they did it every 2 years. I think it was, yeah, 2000. I'm going to say 2008.
Are you really? Well, maybe I'll find out and prove you wrong. Or maybe I won't, because I'm a lazy bastard.
You'll find out when you watch the film. Tomorrow.
I'm not. There's one from 2007, 2010.
Oh, that's probably the Afterlife one then.
2016, 2012. How many are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5.
There are 5. Oh, see, I got that right.
Oh, how many Underworld films are there?
Yeah, and there's a prequel, and there's sort of 5 again.
I was lying. I don't actually care about the Underworld films.
Oh, are we going to do Underworld after this?
No. Do you want to know?
Yes. Kate Beckinsale as a vampire, and because it's early 2000s again, everything's already dark colour schemes, wearing Matrix-style outfits. Yes, we're going to do Underworld after we finish Resident Evil.
No, we're not. Unless you've got anything else to say about Resident Evil Apocalypse, Chris.
Better on a second viewing. If you watch and you don't, I recommend that you and everybody else give it at least 2 or 3 more viewings, and it grows on you.
I don't think I will, Chris. I
think you will.
I will never watch this film again. I mean, there is something to be said for a second viewing making a film slightly better. I don't know whether it's making it better or just you know what's coming and you know what bits to either tune out for, or the shock of a certain twist or something hitting you again is lessened. I don't know, but I don't think it makes a thing better just knowing that there are bad things in it. I don't know what I'm saying. Next week, Chris, Army of the Dead. Another zombie film. Hopefully better.
Yes, Army of the Dead. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it is out next week, isn't it?
Today. After we finish the show, I'm going to eat my dinner and then I'm watching it.
My goodness, we live in exciting times, Chris. I too will watch it. Then we can talk about it on this podcast for losers.
For winners, you mean? The Ultimate Zombie Survival Podcast.
But look, if Alice started a podcast, then it would be the greatest podcast in the world, wouldn't it? And we'd be looking at her and going, that is the greatest podcast in the world.
To paraphrase Chill Valentine, I'm good at podcasting, but I'm not that good.
Exactly. Next week, the Zack Snyder, There's an Army of Zombies movie.
That's in Vegas as well.
Yeah, I know. What a coinky-dinky.
So that will round perfectly into Resident Evil Afterlife, because that's in Vegas as well.
We'll do something non-zombie related after that, but yeah, fingers crossed, Chris, for better zombie action next week. If you have seen Army of the Dead, tell us what you thought of it. Email us, wecansurvivethat@gmail.com, or tweet us at wecansurvive. You can also tell us what you thought of Resident Evil Apocalypse if you like. You don't have to, but if you have strong opinions on it and you think it's the best in the Resident Evil franchise, then tell us. Tell me why I'm wrong and have terrible taste in movies. Chris, you can end the show now.
Well, thank you to everybody who's been listening to We Could Survive That, your weekly survival guide to the movies. We will see you next week for Army of the Dead, but until then, keep on surviving. And remember, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Goodbye, everybody, and good night.